So this is one of the misconceptions that are out there with regards to mortgages. There's only two types of mortgage. You may have heard things being bandied around about endowment mortgages, PEP mortgages, all of these different types. All of those different types that I've just mentioned, so your endowment mortgage that was very prevalent back in the 80s, 90s, and then fell flat on the floor when none of the endowment policies were paying out enough to be able to actually repay the mortgage, are in fact interest only. So let's just have a quick look at the two different types. So the interest only is where you literally pay only interest for the term of the mortgage. At the end of that mortgage, the client still owes every single penny that it borrowed from that mortgage company. Okay, and there's only one exception to that, is if for whatever reason your client decides to make a lump sum payment. Let's assume that the mortgage is like 100,000 and they win the lottery a couple of years in, and they decide, rather than going on around the world tour or buying a jet, they want to pay a lump sum off their mortgage, and they say pay 20 grand off their mortgage. That's the only way, if the client makes lump sum payments off the mortgage, the only way that that interest only mortgage is going to get repaid. Okay, at the end, so in 20, 25, 30 years time, the client still owes the same amount of money to the bank that they did at the outset. Bank, lender, building society. So that's interest only. The next type, the second type of mortgage, is a repayment mortgage. Okay, and the difference here is that with a repayment mortgage, throughout the term of the mortgage, throughout the years that that client has chosen to take that mortgage out for, they are paying back interest to the building society, bank. The lender is what I call the generic term for somebody who's giving our client a mortgage, a lender. They're paying interest, but also they're paying back capital. And that's the difference. They're paying back capital. And by capital, what I mean is the money that they borrowed off that lender at the beginning. Okay, so at the end of that mortgage, if your client's taken out a 20-year mortgage and they never change it, they stay with that lender for the full 20 years, then at the end of that, they will owe zero, other than maybe a few fees.